Governor, Mr. Chairman, if we're ready, I'd get us started. Governor, I want, on behalf of the Department of Transportation, welcome you and express our extreme appreciation for joining us today to present our safety awards. Our safety awards for the department is a really important part of our operations. Our crews out in the field and the folks that are out on the highways out of the central office work really hard in their performance of their duties to make sure that they keep safety in the front of their minds. Everything that we do at the Department of Transportation is safety focused, and that includes our own operations when we're out protecting the safety of the traveling public. So again, our crews do an exceptional job. They work hard at it every day, and it's important that we recognize that. Governor, if I might, I also would express our appreciation, and Shelley Hilmus, our comptroller, will present our budget at this meeting, and I want to acknowledge the tremendous work that you did on the budget to put forth a budget that was both beneficial for the department, the first time in a long time that we haven't been under threat of going backwards. Our roads fund is fully funded this year, which is a tremendous shot in the arm for the department to finally achieve the 575 cap in the roads fund. And I also want to thank you as a citizen of the state of Oklahoma for putting some money in our savings account. That was a big deal. That'll help us weather the next storm that we may have. So I want to acknowledge that, and again, thank you so much for joining us. And with that, I would invite you to make a few remarks if you care to.
Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys, the invite to be here today. It's such an honor to be with you. I've got to tell you, so I'm half colorblind. My wife has to pick out my shirts and my jacket and my ties. She did not pick out a tie for me this morning because I told her it was a casual day. I just came back from, and then I'm here with you guys, so I apologize for that. But we've got a great event going on. I've got all the state agency heads together in a room for the first time ever, and we're doing a day-long strategy planning summit to talk about their mission and the vision to get everybody aligned with the vision to be a top 10 state. And I can tell you, Secretary Gatz, we talk a lot about what we're doing in road conditions, bridge conditions, pavement conditions, and he set a big, bold goal to be top 10 and all that. And so I want you to know it was important for me. It was a no-brainer to fully fund this department because this is such a core function of state government. It's an economic driver, having the best infrastructure, and so I'm just excited to be here. And then also during our flooding conditions that we've had over the last we've been experiencing for the last couple weeks. It's been a rough time throughout a lot of the state, specifically eastern Oklahoma. And Secretary Gatz has just done a great job. The men and women at ODOT have been stationed at these bridges just so in a moment's notice they could shut things down and protect public safety. And so it was just amazing for me to watch the great men and women in this organization do such a great job. And then, we shut down, we had to evacuate Braggs, Oklahoma, which is just east of Muskogee, and then they were totally cut off. And so ODOT did a fantastic job. The crew actually built an impossible road. I think it was 7 miles long to deliver services, to get the power back on, to help the citizens there. And so the group that did that it was unbelievable. I got a chance to experience that and see that from the air. So they worked with the Corps of Engineers, and we had our law enforcement out. The National Guard was helping. So it was great to see. So I just want to thank the ODOT for being such great Oklahomans and helping out their fellow Oklahomans. And I'm here today to honor really the hardworking men and women of this area and promote safety because they're always taking care of others and protecting Oklahomans. But we want to make sure that we're top 10 in safety of our team here, and we never put them in harm's way. So I'm excited to be here, and I know that's a top priority for ODOT. So as governor of your state, it's just my privilege and honor to lend my support, roll up my sleeves with you, and I just look at ODOT as my coworkers, and I want to thank the board here, the commission, for serving with me and taking away from their busy lives and their jobs. They're great Oklahomans, and thank you all for your commitment and what you do to oversee this great agency. So thank you all for allowing me to be here.
Governor, to your point, in history, the Department of Transportation has lost 61 employees that were killed in the line of duty, which is more than any other state agency. We work hard at this every day, and at this point, I'd like to acknowledge John Coleman, ask him to come up and present the Directors Awards first. So, John, if you wouldn't mind. You want to do the Governor's Award? Terry, we need to do the Governor's Award first.
Okay. Governor Stitt, Chairman and Commissioners, Secretary Gatz. We may have to be a little bit fluid today, depending on your time. Before it gets away, at 11:25, I think there will be a photo op with you in the lobby. So I'd like to say good morning to you guys and all of you ODOTers. It's a great day to be an ODOTer. Annually, we recognize our Director's Excellence Award, our Governor's Award, and our Progressive Excellence Award. We're fortunate to have a director and senior staff that believe in and support the safety culture of ODOT. Additionally, our division engineers provide strong leadership and support to further enhance the safety culture. We couldn't be successful without all the involvement of all ODOTers. But I think it's important to gather a glimpse of the complexity of what we do. Annually, ODOT has approximately 2,350 employees who work approximately 5 million hours, who operate over 1,700 pieces of equipment and vehicles, and maintain 31,000 lane miles of roadway. I know it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around 31,000 miles, but if you will, imagine Bangor, Maine, San Diego, California. Google Maps says it's 3,116 miles. Construct a one-lane road between those 2 points. You have to travel that 10 times to equal the amount of roadway that our people maintain. It's phenomenal. I'm going to skip to the Excellence Awards of the Director. So Director Gatz, if you come forward, please. And if the appropriate commissioner from the divisions will come forward for a picture-taking session with Mr. Gatz. And the Division 1, the winner is Cherokee County Maintenance Unit, Superintendent Bo Ballard, DE Chris Wallace. Thank you. Commissioner, if you'll just stay down here. Division 2, Bridge Crew, Billy Jack Wilkerson, Anthony Kelly, Division Engineer. Division 3, Pontotoc County, County Maintenance Unit, Superintendent Bart Shocker, Kevin Bloss. Division 4, Division-wide Bridge Crew, Superintendent John Green, DE Trent January. Division 5, Greer County Maintenance Unit, Superintendent Andy Slayton, DE Brent Almquist, I'm sorry. Division 6, Division-wide Traffic Crew, Superintendent Gene Dodd, DE Ron McDaniel. Division 7, Interstate 35 Crew, Superintendent Johnny Sullivan, DEJ Earp. Division 8, Division-wide Survey Crew, Superintendent Ed Stewart, DE Randall White. Central Office, Office Services Division, Kevin Young. Kevin Lowe. Good friend of mine, Kevin Young. Kevin Lowe. We'd like to now award the Progressive Excellence Award to Division 6, a decrease of 73% in their safety record. This is based on a formula calculating lost days and accidents against the previous year. In 2017, the division had 8 claims and 268 lost days. This year, they had 10 claims and 59 lost days. This equates to a cost savings based on an average salary of approximately $50,000. There are also indirect cost savings such as reduced workers' compensation premium. So as Ron McDaniel to come forward and accept that award, please. Progressive Excellence Award. and Jared Drew, the safety manager. Thank you. Okay, now the top awarded ODOT annually is called the Governor's Safety Excellence Award. And with the number of employees hours and hours worked, plus the rolling inventory, the lane miles maintained, and the complexity of the job, it's incredible to consider the low number of accidents and lost days. The combination of these ingredients is a recipe for bad things to happen, and yet, this year the Governor's Safety Excellence Award winner made ODOT history. This year's winner has worked approximately 900,000 hours during the past 2 years with only 12 lost days, 96 hours, and 0 last year. The division had 10 reportable accidents for the past 2 years, 2 last year, 8 this year. That percentage equates to a .0000192 of perfection. For the first time in recent ODOT history, we have a back-to-back winner. This year's winner is Division 5. Brent Alquist. And their safety manager, Richard Best. Right. Hold on, gentlemen. Hold on. Brent. Hold on, Brent. At this time, I'd like to ask Taylor Henderson, the state maintenance engineer, to come forward for another presentation to Division 5.
Thank you, John. Governor and chairman and commissioners and secretary, it's with great pleasure that we work for an agency that does value safety so much, and that we can show that we value it here with these presentations. Also, with the winning from what Brent Almquist Division 5 has done this year, we like to also add an incentive and give them an extra gift when they show this exemplary safety award. So outside right now is a trailer-mounted attenuator that we hook up to the back of any of our trucks. It keeps our guys safe during maintenance operations or construction operations. So with that, it's sitting outside, John. I couldn't bring it in here with me. So appreciate it. Thank you, Brent.
That concludes our safety presentation. I just wanted to say one other thing, that the mantra of ODOT is the safe way is the only way. Governor and Mr. Chairman, if subject to your questions, that completes my presentation. I did. 11:25 in the foyer for a photo op. Yeah, all recipients, please.
I guess it might be appropriate that I call this meeting to order, and we're going to go ahead and have our meeting. we've done the safety part. I need a motion for approval of last month's meetings. Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor? Just light up your light. Motion approved. I may need some help on this. The safety improvement project by Mr. Penley, is that different from what we just did? Is Mr. Penley here to give his report? Or is he out in the photo? Huh?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Safety improvement projects normally on the consent agenda, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
Before I go any further, I would like to recognize we have several guests here today. Gary Ridley. Gary, would you stand? We're thrilled to have you today. Mike Patterson. Is Mike still here? Thanks for coming today. John Cox is here from the Trust. And Bobby Stem from ACG. And then the next item on the agenda is from Mr. Phillips, the land sale.
What we do is that we vote on the consent docket together, items 79.
I'm sorry. I messed that up last month. 79 and 81. Do any of the commissioners have any questions on 79 through 81 on the consent docket?
Move adoption.
Second.
All in favor?
The system's not triggered.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The next item on the agenda then is Mr. Tiegler presenting the engineering contracts.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Item 82 are my engineering contracts for the month. I have two this month. Part A is Okmulgee County, Commission District 1. The department has selected CP&Y Incorporated to prepare construction plans for US 75 at Preston Road. The total not to exceed amount for this contract is $1,401,195. This project is included in the 8-year construction work plan with a scheduled let date in federal fiscal year 2024. Part B in Sequoia County, also in District 1. We've selected MKEC Engineering to prepare construction plans for I-40 at the I-40 US 64 junction. Total not to exceed amount is $440,276, and this project is as well in the 8-year construction work plan with a scheduled let date of federal fiscal year 2024. Approval is recommended, and I'll try to answer any questions if you have any this morning.
Move for approval.
Second. Roll call. Would you
Okay.
continue?
Item 83 are my supplements this month. I have 3 of those. Part A is statewide, all districts. This is our on-demand underwater bridge inspections. The department previously selected Consor engineers to provide underwater bridge inspection services, and due to the recent severe flooding across the state, it's necessary to inspect additional bridges. So we're adding an additional $200,000 to this contract. Part B is also statewide. This is our on-demand, on-system bridge inspections. We've selected 3 consultants in the past. This is with CEC Corporation, and we're going to increase this contract by an additional $100,000. And Part C is Osage County, and this is our Commission District 8. We've authorized Benham Design to do the construction, the preliminary engineering and final design plans for State Highway 20, which is Bug Creek. The supplement not to exceed amount is $135,211. This project is in the 8-year construction work plan with a scheduled let date of 2020. Approval is recommended, and I'll answer any questions if you have any.
I hear a motion.
I make a motion we approve.
Second.
And then we have a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I'd like to present item 84, parts A through V. These are change orders on projects which have a cumulative total of change orders of $75,000 or less. This item is presented for your information only. No action is necessary, but I'd be glad to try and answer any questions.
We reviewed those earlier this morning in a small committee. Are there any questions on the panel?
Not here.
A motion for approval?
No, they don't need to be approved. It's just for information.
You're right. I'm sorry. Thanks.
All right, moving on to item 85, parts A through AA. These are the change orders on projects which have a cumulative total of change orders greater than $75,000. Your approval is recommended, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Are there any questions, Commission? Motion for approval?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. Presentation by the Comptroller Division.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Agenda item 86 is for the bid openings, which consists of the final August 2019, tentative September, and tentative October bid openings. The department recommends and requests approval of this item.
Are there any questions? I need a motion for approval.
So moved. Yeah, move for approval.
Supplemental damages.
Thank you. Okay, agenda item 87 is for the settlement for damages to state property, and the department recommends and requests approval of this item.
Any questions?
Approval as well.
Second. All vote. Item number 88.
Okay. Addendum item 88 is for the 2020 budget work program, and the department is required to submit a budget work program to the Office of Management and Enterprise Services in June of each year, which provides for the budget authority for the upcoming fiscal year. In keeping with that process, the department is submitting for commission approval the fiscal year 2020 budget work program. And you will notice that the budget is 8.75% higher than the previous year. That's primarily due to 3 areas. In the highway program, we have the Fast Lane grant in the amount of $62 million. And then the county program, we have $30 million that is appropriated by the legislature, House Bill 2676, in combination with no reductions of cash. Very appreciated. And the final part is a grant, bus grant in the transit program, a little under $12 million. Overall, this budget has improved much from previous years.
It sure has.
Recommend approval?
Second.
All, if you see the governor, thank him for our big increase this year. I mean, we had a very substantial improvement in the overall budget, and besides the others.
The department requests and recommends approval of this budget item in the amount of $1,792,849,359.
And I think we just,
That's what I just did.
we just
Okay.
did
Excuse
that.
me.
All right, thank
I
you.
did it out of turn. Sorry, Sean.
Are you gonna, yeah. You're gonna do what everybody's here for.
Yeah, the short version of what I did with,
I've had that 2-hour version
yeah.
already.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Item 89 are recommendations from the May 16th bid opening. It is recommended that the following items from that bid opening be referred to by call order be awarded. It's call orders 415, 421, 424, 430, 433, 436, 448, 451, 457, 463, 469, 472, 475, 478, 484, 490, 493, 499, 502, 508, 511, 514, 520, 526, 532, 535, 538, 544, 547, 550, 553, 562, 565, 568, 577, 578, 586, and 589. It is recommended that the following items from the May 16th bid opening referred to by call order be rejected. This call order is 400, 427, 442, 446, 460, 487, 541, 556, 559, and 580. This concludes our recommendations for award, and your approval is requested.
Do I hear a motion for approval?
Move to be approved.
Second.
All in favor? Anthony, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner, the director hadn't come back in yet, has he? I didn't see you come in. Sorry about that.
Mr. Chairman, I snuck in the side door, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, at this point, if you will bear with me, I'd like to acknowledge Chief Engineer Brian Taylor to come forward and present an award to one of our extremely important partners in transportation. Mr. Taylor?
Mr. Chairman, Commission, it's my pleasure and honor today to introduce you to somebody. That somebody is Melanie Luke Coleman. Melody, if you're in the audience. Melody, do you mind? She has a couple people with her. She has her director, Carolyn Owings, her supervisor, Scott Evershed. Melody, how long have we been working together? I think we've talked before, probably 9 years? Okay. And I wanna tell you a little bit about Melody. She's for her assistance to the agency, her ongoing work for the service and safety of the travelers in Oklahoma. We have a commendation from the agency for her service signed by the Secretary of Transportation and ODOT Executive Director Tim Gatz. It reads, Ms. Luke Coleman is the restriction manager for the Oklahoma Department of Safety in the Safety, Size, and Weights Permit Division. She leads the coordination efforts to route increasing number of oversized and overweight trucks through the state so they avoid our work zones in areas which aren't able to safely accommodate the loads. As Oklahomans, transportation infrastructure is undergoing numerous bridge, pavement, and other safety improvements. It takes a tremendous amount of communication and precision to ensure the loads are correctly routed. This includes making sure over-height loads don't come into conflict with lower clearance bridges, that oversized loads have room to make turns, and that overweight loads are kept off load-posted bridges. This is careful planning, not only saves the commercial carriers time and money, but helps prevent unsafe traffic situations that could put the public at risk. Ms. Coleman is a critical link between the carriers, the partner agencies responsible for maintaining safe roads and bridges to the public. She's always a phone call away to make sure proper restrictions are in place to prevent future issues, and Her positive attitude, willingness to help, professionalism, and devotion to the safe, economical, and efficient transportation in the state of Oklahoma is known throughout ODOT. It is for these reasons that ODOT presents this commendation to her and the Department of Public Safety. Melody?
The safety awards, part of what makes safe travel possible out there on the highway system is absolutely the coordination that we have with the Department of Public Safety and the Highway Patrol, and all that they do to help us keep not only the traveling public safe, but our people that are out there working in work zones safe. And I promise you, the routing of those oversized and overweight loads is a really critical component of that, because it helps keep that traffic away from our work zones when we have those activities going on. Mr. Chairman, I've got one more award to acknowledge, and at this time, with your permission, I would invite Russell Hewlin to the podium to make a presentation on behalf of the Federal Transit Administration.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. It is my privilege to present this award on behalf of FTA. The Federal Transit Administration Region 6 office in Fort Worth, Texas, recognized the Oklahoma Department of Transportation's Transit Programs Division with a direct recipient award for excellence in FTA program management. The presentation of the Excellence in FTA Management Award to ODOT was based on several performance measures, including ridership, increase in the past year, competency, grant management and reporting, completion rates, and civil rights activities. Entities eligible for the award include urban transit systems, tribal transit services, and state agencies such as state DOTs administering rural transit programs or services for elderly and disabled individuals. The department's division is responsible for providing technical assistance and funding, administration, and oversight for 20 rural operators in Oklahoma, serving communities with less than 50,000 in population. This is a key service for our state, providing rides for many people in rural areas to go to the hospital or to work. It is very important to Oklahoma. So at this time, I'd like to bring up Ms. Ernie Imbro and her staff from the division.
Are there any other, trying to take your show away from you, excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Got a couple of announcements I want to make. Terry Angier has agreed to take on a special assignment. So in addition to her duties as Chief of Media and Public Relations, she's going to assist me and be our interagency liaison. Part of what we're going to be really focusing on is making sure that we're leveraging resources across agencies, looking for efficiencies, probably implementing some new delivery methodologies and things like that. And quite frankly, I'm going to need somebody to kind of help me keep track of everything. And again, Terry and her institutional knowledge of the Department of Transportation and her systematic approach to making sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's are going to be really, really important to me. And again, she's agreed to accept that duty as our interagency liaison. So I want to acknowledge her and thank her for her willingness to do that. Also, subsequent to Brian Taylor being named our chief engineer, they've completed the hiring process for the Division 4 engineer. That individual is Trent January. Trent is a longtime department employee, for as young as he is, but really has been an instrumental part of operations in Division 4. He comes to us from his previous position where he was the assistant division engineer in Division 4 for maintenance and construction. And again, we're really happy to have Trent on the team as a division engineer and look forward to working with him. So Trent. A couple of more things I'd like to call the Commission's attention to. This month, on June the 14th, we're going to be celebrating the 20th anniversary of the return of the Amtrak Heartland Flyer passenger rail service between Oklahoma City and Tulsa, or Oklahoma City and Fort Worth, rather. I'm sorry. The service continues today thanks to the financial support from the Department of Transportation in Texas. So again, they are a really, really important part of the operation of that passenger rail service. They participate not only with at the depot stops, but they also participate financially in that operation. So we're really, really thankful for that. And to be honest, without the participation of TxDOT, that Heartland Flyer operation wouldn't be possible for us to fund and go forward. So again, that partnership has been invaluable to us across the operation of the Heartland Flyer, and we look forward to many years of operation going forward. But again, it's important that we acknowledge this month we'll turn the 20-year anniversary. So the department has a operation that you may be familiar with that we stood up as part of an effort to assist with traffic control in work zones. It was called ODOT. That operation started right up here on Interstate 235 in the work zone where we actually moved the enormous railroad bridge into place, and was pretty successful in the work zone. We did a pilot project that would have expanded that operation out for motorist assist type activities across the metropolitan area. As we've looked at that operation and performed an evaluation, I think we've come to the conclusion that it's probably not timely to try to get out and do that. It's really not meeting the expectations that we had for that operation. So I would advise the commission that we're going to wind that pilot down and discontinue that service. And just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. For work zone safety, one of the things that the Turnpike Authority had done about the same time that we put this operation into place up on 235 was they contracted with the private sector on the Turner Turnpike widening project and were able to successfully implement a service truck that was provided by the private sector in that work zone. And again, it was very, very effective. They had a tremendous amount of contacts with the traveling public during the time period that was under construction. So that mechanism will remain available to the department to use whenever we have some of our more intensive urban type construction zones, and we feel confident that we can access those services through the private sector. So, and lastly, I'd close with thanking the men and women with the Department of Transportation behind me that have worked really, really hard over the last 6 weeks or so with managing some of the weather events that we've had. The focus has a tendency to turn to northeastern and eastern Oklahoma, but quite frankly, we've had extreme weather events all across the state. We've had crews responding to flooding and storm damage statewide, and all of them have done a good job. They've worked extremely hard to make sure that we were looking out for the safety of the traveling public, and I want to thank them for that. The event that we had in northeastern and eastern Oklahoma is significant. It was a historic flood event, unlike anything I've ever seen before. I think unlike anything most of us have ever seen before. I want to start out by thanking all of the state agency partners that we had. The Office of Emergency Management did a tremendous job along with the Department of Public Safety. Many of those operations are ongoing. Also, we had a lot of federal partners. Our local FHWA office and the USDOT, again, reached out to us, and we'll continue to work with them. They reached out early and asked us if there was anything that we needed to be sure and advise them. So those, from a federal perspective, and I want to acknowledge the Corps of Engineers, who really did a tremendous job managing the flood control system that they got in place. Because without that flood control network, this event could have been much, much worse for Oklahoma. And they did a masterful job of making sure that they were controlling what they could in very, very extreme circumstances. So I want to acknowledge their efforts. And statewide, we had 150 total highway closures across the state, all 8 field divisions. At one time, I counted 65 locations on the highway system that were closed at the same time. I've never seen that before. And again, those weren't isolated to just the east or the northeast. Those were statewide closures. We still have closures that are ongoing statewide. So we've got folks still deployed taking care of those locations. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge, and again, in the subcommittee upstairs, we talked at length about the effect that these extreme weather events are having on our construction projects. We are going to have to work closely with our partners on the contracting side to manage these construction contracts in a way that we still deliver a good quality product, but make sure that we acknowledge the challenges that they're going to have. Everything from the availability of sand to just the conditions that have been presented for them on the ground, because those construction sites are not immune to some of the flooding activities and the adverse impacts, even though they're under construction. So there are a lot of work that we'll have to go back and make sure that we get buttoned up and propped up correctly. So I certainly want to acknowledge the efforts that are going to go into taking care of that business. As the water levels continue to subside, we will be out doing inspections because, again, right now we don't know what we don't know because the water levels are still up at a lot of locations. We have seen some damage already where the waters have begun to subside. We've lost some shoulders on Highway 62, and we know that we're going to have other damage like that. Scour at our bridge columns and piers, and certainly we're going to have some of those issues that are erosion related at our concrete box structures and drainage structures of other types. So we're going to be putting eyes on everything, all of our infrastructure and assets out there that have been impacted by flooding. I can assure you we will have inspections performed to make sure that everything is continuing to be in good shape and performing as expected. So that'll be ongoing. One of the things that is caused in flood events of this magnitude that will be extreme for the department is drift removal. Any type of log or branch or anything else that was laying in a field that might have been half a mile away from a river is probably in the river now, and subsequently that drift will end up on our bridge structures. That's something that we're going to have to work really hard at for the next 18 months or 2 years, because it'll take a long time for us to go and clear that drift. But it's extremely important that we do so, because if we don't, in the next flood event, the forces that could be exerted on those bridge structures is extreme. So that's part of managing that infrastructure to make sure that we take care of that drift that's going to accumulate. And again, we're going to see that statewide because we've had a lot of rivers that have been out of their banks across the last 6 weeks. The governor was here with us this morning. His efforts out there on the ground, and again, he traveled statewide to make sure that he understood the magnitude of the event and what was going on out there, and did a tremendous job for the state of Oklahoma. I know he's working closely now with the federal government to make sure that the emergencies that we've been experiencing are properly acknowledged. So not just state resources are made available to the public, but also many types of federal resources might be made available to them. So we really appreciate his efforts there. And Terry, I think, do we have a PowerPoint queued up? Okay, so if we might, we just walk through the PowerPoint presentation that we've got here. The lock and dam system that we have in Oklahoma, and again, the Port of Catoosa is the furthest inland port in the United States, and that lock and dam system performed very well throughout the flood event, thanks to the, again, masterful operations of the Corps of Engineers. I think without the system that we've got in place right now, the flood event would have been much, much worse. And this slide just gives you an example of the extensive nature of that. You can see just a little bit north and west of the Muskogee area, you've got the three forks that come together, the Arkansas, the Verdigris, and the Grand River. Some of the flows that we were seeing there at the Muskogee area were off the charts significant, more than 600,000 cubic feet per second in the Arkansas River. And again, that was a pretty extreme event, unlike anything anybody had ever seen before. So, next slide. You know, during the course of the event, and I heard it said several times as we interacted with other agencies, never has Oklahoma been so focused and concerned about what the weather was doing in Dodge City. But you can see the watershed that is in Arkansas that has the Arkansas River as part of it. It's extensive. Again, if you take a look at the river names that flow into the Arkansas River system, you can see that a lot of those rivers experienced significant flooding over the course of the last 6 weeks. And again, some of it unseen before. So the magnitude of the flood event was extreme. But the watershed for the Arkansas River is extensive. So I thought this was a good slide to acknowledge the river basin and everything that flows into it. Next slide. This slide just gives you a little bit of an idea of what the Corps of Engineers was dealing with. Again, they have their conservation pool and then a flood pool that they really try to stay close to. And they were at their limits in all of the flood control lakes, especially in the northeast part of the state. And again, their ability to try to match the water that was coming into those reservoirs with the outflows that they were putting out of the dam without doing more damage downstream, again, was just a really, really critical operation, and again, they really did a good job of taking care of it because we were seeing inflows and outflows that were never seen before. Next slide. This is Highway 62 between Muskogee and Fort Gibson in Division 1. This is a site that is a little bit disheartening to highway guys to see the water flowing over a facility like that, and it cut off a major artery from the transportation side in that area and caused all kinds of problems. The water is beginning to recede. We've got 62 back open now, but it was underwater to the extent that the 62 bridge over the Arkansas River was acting a little bit like a boat ramp because a lot of the emergency services were crossing 62 bridge and accessing a launching location that was makeshift because of the high water. But again, I witnessed a lot of boats being launched off of the US 62 bridge, and again, something that I've never seen before. Next slide. This is the Arkansas River at the OG&E power plant, and again, there are areas there that are underwater that being a little bit familiar with that area, it was extremely difficult for my mind to process what I was looking at. Because again, the river turned to a lake, and water is not supposed to be that close to the power plant. So this gives you an example of what an extreme flood event it was. Next slide. These are the guys that made all the difference. The boots on the ground out there that were taking care of our highway system did a tremendous job. They're still doing a tremendous job. A lot of those guys are still working long hours today and will continue to work long hours as we climb out of the aftermath of the storm event. And I can't thank them enough. The folks in Division I did a tremendous job, and I want to really emphasize what a statewide event this was and how many crews we had actively involved in managing the highway system. Next slide. Chris and John, thank those guys. They did worked long hours. I don't think either one of them have sat down in about the last month. And I can vouch for that, and they did a tremendous job out there in Division I, and again, they got a long road ahead of them. Next slide. This is an example. We talked a little bit about our people that were deployed out on our bridge infrastructure. Part of the reason is because we didn't ever know what might come downriver that had the potential to impact our bridges. And again, this is just an example of some of the things that we saw. It was a very large fuel tank of some kind. And I think if you look at what we were doing, and the water levels were such that we have pier protection on all of our Arkansas River navigation structure bridges, and our pier protection was inundated. So it was over the top of our pier protection, which again, those piers were designed to never be flooded. So this was an event like we weren't anticipating. But again, when that pier protection is underwater, you get the potential for direct impacts on those bridge columns. Next slide, please. This is an example of some of the things that we saw. There is a drainage structure under the highway at this location, and the river's high on one side and low on the other side, so it's still pumping water through it, and that's what causes the whirlpool. And those are locations where we know that we will find damage to the end of that drainage structure as the waters begin to recede. But that gives you an idea of what we were dealing with out on the network in a lot of locations. And those are some of the things that we'll be going back and taking a hard look at as the water levels come down. Next slide. Here's the shoulders that we lost a little bit of on Highway 62. Again, we expect to see more of this type of damage. The pavement itself is likely impacted, but again, the guys will be performing those inspections and really making sure that we get things properly buttoned up as the water continues to recede and as we transition from emergency operations into more of recovery type operations. So, next slide, please. That's another shot of some of the shoulder damage that we saw on Highway 62. And that's simply as the water recedes, that's when your major erosion events happen. And that's when you have the forces like this that act and you lose pavement. Next slide. Again, these events were spread statewide. This was in my own hometown of El Reno. We had a EF3 tornado that was a quick spin-up tornado that was on the ground for a little over half a mile and did some really, really extreme damage, resulted in 2 fatalities, unfortunately. But again, this was part of the efforts of Governor Stitt to, again, make sure he had a clear understanding of what was going on out across our state, and that he was doing what he could to make sure he engaged all of the state agencies that were responsible and the federal government and make sure that they knew what was going on. Next slide, please. then this is just another location there in El Reno. And the department deployed resources immediately on the occurrence of that tornado, 10:30 at night. Got out and closed Highway 81, and again stayed on the wall with that group as long as it took to keep that facility closed until they could create a safe situation there, and again begin to assess the damages and try to assist the residents there to the extent that they could. Next slide. This is in Division 8, Highway 20 east of Skiatook. And just further examples of the magnitude of the flooding that we were experiencing. And again, I know in many divisions we saw water in places where we've probably never seen it before. Next slide. State Highway 51 was closed for a period of time. And again, many of these highway facilities that were completely underwater are not minor highways. They're major arterial highways that carry a lot of traffic. And again, when we have to close one of those, it has a significant impact. Next slide. Gives you an idea of some of the things that we were being very mindful of. When you see a river out of its banks and that close to our bridge infrastructure, if the water levels would come up to beam level there, the lateral forces that those rivers could exert on our transportation infrastructure would be extreme. So again, when we've got folks out there that are being eyes on, this is what we're looking at and this is what we're watching for. And again, this event has been extremely unpredictable, and we've got rain predicted for the future, so we'll continue to monitor things. Next slide. Highway 82 further northeast south of Langley. And again, Grand Lake was one of the facilities that was significantly impacted, and we saw a lot of water over roadways. Next slide. 69 in Ottawa County, again there at Miami. And Miami is beginning to see the water go down a little bit. We've got some additional highways. 69 is open now, and I believe we opened part of State Highway 10 this morning. I think we're down into the teens as far as closures are concerned. But at one time, again, I counted 65 locations on the state highway system that were closed. Next slide. Highway 169 there in Tulsa County at Bird Creek. Next slide. We had barges that were located up in Port 33 there on the Verdigris River, just a little bit north of the Highway 412 bridges. So again, we kept boots on the ground there to monitor that situation to make sure that that those barges were staying in place. They were in close communication with Port 33 and folks there, and really paid close attention. And we thank those guys. They worked some extremely long hours while this event was going on to make sure that we had eyes on that river and what was going on in it at all times. Next slide, please. Okay, is that the end slide? So Commissioners, I thought it was important just to give you a little bit of an example and an overview of what we were dealing with. And again, it was a pretty extreme event. It was an event we're used to when we have flood events. It rains 10 inches at a few locations and comes up overnight, and we deal with it, and then it goes back down. This was an extended event, so the water levels came up over weeks through several storm events that really dumped a lot of rain on us, and therefore it took longer to reduce the levels after it did quit raining. And like I said, we were getting rain every day just about there for a while. So again, it's been a difficult storm event to manage statewide, and our folks did a tremendous job, and I want to thank them for the work that they've done. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would be happy to answer any questions that the Commissioners might have. And
I echo my appreciation to your comments regarding Division One's response to our area. They have done a stellar job.
Thank you, and I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. The folks that are out there in the divisions know their job very, very well, and they respond without hesitation to whatever the needs are.
Any other comments? Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. We're adjourned.